Alright, so I've been meaning to do this review after I finished Aquaman number 4. I haven't gotten around to it, so today I'm going to be reviewing the first 4 issues of the New 52's Aquaman series as a whole, since it was a 4-part story. As everyone knows, well, for those who don't know, due to the fact that I don't live anywhere near a comic book shop or anywhere that sells comics, the closest one being a bookstore, and that's about 30 minutes to, and the closest comic book store lives an hour and a half away from me, so, yeah. Anyway, so for those who don't know, I'm only reading 2 of the New 52, those being this and Red Lanterns. So let's kick this off with the review. So as everyone knows, Geoff Johns does the writing and Ivan Reyes does the artwork. It is very good to see these two work together again. I really feel like that this is a very good way. This story arc was a very good, strong way of bringing Aquaman back into the spotlight that he's been lacking for the longest time. I mean, everyone says, oh, Geoff Johns made Aquaman awesome. I find it hilarious that no one seems to, take Peter David's run, seriously. That was a very good way to expand the Aquaman mythos, especially like the 7-part miniseries Atlantean Chronicles. But I think they are partially right that Geoff Johns did make Aquaman, I wouldn't say awesome because in his own way he is an awesome character, but I think Geoff Johns did a really good job of bringing him into the spotlight in the, with a lot of people out there, basically saying, hey, it's Aquaman, he can be badass too. And I thought it was a really good, smart move that DC Comics decided to do this. And this is something, actually, Geoff Johns has wanted to do for the longest time. He's always wanted to write Aquaman. And it really shows that he has a lot of love for this character. And in the first 4 issues, he basically makes Aquaman, he basically proves that Aquaman can be a relevant superhero. So the story, for those who don't know, is basically Aquaman has decided to live on the surface world and become its protector. While this is going on, a race of undersea creatures called the Trench has moved out from its habitat and have started devouring people in a small town near Boston. Now, this was now the other cool thing about this is that basically everyone who Aquaman runs into, even after he stops a truck with the most badass way, he takes his trident, impales it into the front of the car, and flips it over with ease. And the cops give him shit for it. It's like, we got Aquaman, did our job for us. This is going to be embarrassing. And basically, Aquaman in the first issue just gets trashed on, and he just doesn't care. And he says, you know what, I'm still going to protect these people. And that's the underlying subplot of basically everyone Aquaman runs into basically says, we don't need you. We need the Flash or something. We need Green Lantern. We don't need you. The other amazing thing I find cool about this comic is that Aquaman and Arthur and Mira's relationship is really well done in here. I just really love the dialogue between Arthur and Mira in some of the comics, and even Ivan Reyes's artwork really brings out the emotion facially. I mean, there are panels where they don't even say anything; they just look at each other like, "Yeah, these two really have a lot of love for one another." So, yeah. Further on in the second issue, we see Aquaman encounter the Trench for the first time, and it's a really good battle. Aquaman has no idea what these things are. He can't communicate with them, and they're only obsessed. The Trench apparently are obsessed with one thing: food. That's all they want. They want food. So that issue is basically Aquaman and a group of Aquaman, Mira, and a few police officers fighting off the Trench. Third issue is where it gets really interesting, where Aquaman goes to a scientist who, when he was a kid, his father took him to, who was an oceanologist, or ichthyologist. Oceanologist, ichthyologist, I guess you could say, the guy who studies fish. So they take a body of one of the Trench to this man, who Aquaman doesn't really like to begin with, because as a kid, when he was helping him control his powers and learn of his origin, the guy basically went crazy and, take me to Atlantis, and the guy ran off. And Arthur brings it to him, and we get some really cool anatomy on what the trench is. I mean, there's actually... It feels like these creatures feel like underwater xenomorphs. Basically, aliens from Alien, if for those who don't know what if anyone thinking, what the hell's a xenomorph? But yeah, they're basically like the creatures from Alien if they had flippers. And by the fourth issue is just a really good, solid ending, and you actually feel pretty sympathetic for the trench. They have a queen. They're basically on their last rope. They're a dying race. They're only going out for food is because they can't find food. There is no more food. They're in their ecosystem. They're being forced to. They're being driven out by their hunger, and they need food for the queen and new food for their kids. You know, their children that are basically they're such an endangered species that they're being forced to inbreed. So that was really cool. So these guys aren't really monsters. Aquaman understands that, hey, these guys aren't monsters, but they're just animals. They're just trying to survive as a race, but how they're doing it is completely wrong. So I find that really cool that these guys aren't like, oh, we're gonna eat everybody just because we can. It's like, nah, we need food. We're doing this on instinct. So you feel kind of sympathetic for the trench. And it goes off on a really good ending. The ending being is that Aquaman is given a dog that was owned by one of the people who were killed by the trench, and it was a really sweet ending. So definitely, like I said, a very strong opening for the Aquaman series. The next story arc will basically be Aquaman trying to figure out who sank Atlantis hundreds of years ago. So that's going to be really interesting. But all in all, like I said, this is a definite start. You can actually pick up the first 4 back issues and kind of read them like a mini-series if you don't want to read Aquaman, like as a continuing series. I'd say you could probably get the first 4 issues, and it kind of feels like a mini-series if they didn't, like, aside from the fact that they allude to something bigger. Not really. But there is a mention in the 3rd issue that kind of leads into the 5th, that leads into issue 5, which is going to start the next story arc. But like I said, you can probably pick up the first 4 back issues and read them like a mini-series, and basically see what the hype is about the new Aquaman series. And then you can probably decide, I don't know if you guys want to read issue 5 or not. But I'm going to give this story arc a 5 out of 5. This was truly fantastic. But yeah, I'm out.